What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. And today we've got some interesting topics to go over. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for someone new, and click that notification bell for the best Nintendo Switch, Switch 2, daily news, live streams, and more on Nintendo RPGs right here on PlayerEssence. Now let's go ahead and jump right into it. And we're starting off with something that not a lot of people talked about when it comes to Nintendo or just the gaming industry. And that was what Nintendo Switch did in Japan last week. Now, once again, there has been a lot of talk about what was going on with Japan and the sales numbers and everything earlier in the year. That's kind of died down as now that the Nintendo Switch, still in its 6th year, going into its 7th year, is dominating the sales charts. So of course that talk has dried up. But I wanted to go over a very interesting tidbit that kind of shows maybe what Nintendo's hand will be for the next generation system. So if you look at it, the Nintendo Switch in Japan sold over 110,000 units for the past week. Now, we don't know what it's going to sell this week, but last week they did have Detective Pikachu Returns, which sold 80,000 units plus, not including digital. And then they also had the Super Mario Bros. Red OLED edition that came out, and Nintendo sold over 100,000 units of the OLED model specifically. Now, we don't know exactly what the breakdown was from the regular OLED to which types of OLED, or if it was all just the Mario OLED, but still, the OLED was really popular last week in Japan, which is great. Usually the Nintendo Switch OLED sells the best, but that Mario edition really helped out with big Mario games coming out this year. And I was wondering, I was like, wait a minute, it sold that much with the Mario edition and going into the holiday, and not necessarily the biggest game when it comes to Detective Pikachu. There's still a number of massive games coming out this year for the Nintendo Switch that are exclusive, that should push sales even further than maybe what we've seen before in some of the best Nintendo Switch years during the holiday period. Now, allow me to explain. So that 100,000 units plus, very good, 110,000 units plus. Coming up this week, we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is already pre-ordering really well. It's picked up over the last number of weeks, which it kind of started out a little bit slow, which games usually do when it comes to like Mario games, but then it really picked up, so people are excited for that. Obviously, the Mario OLED, maybe people are getting excited for the Mario OLED, then picking up Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But either way, it's going to be a huge game. It's going to sell a lot of units and probably be up on the list for many people's game of the year, or just picking up for the kids, or picking up to play as families. There's going to be a lot of excitement and sales around this game. It's going to do well and help push units of this ancient Nintendo Switch at this point. So that's just one of them, and that could be the biggest mover. But then you also have Super Mario RPG that comes out on November 17th, which that game has been getting a lot of hype. And I don't like to put a lot of, I would say, stock into the Gematsu ratings in terms of not the actual review ratings, but the most wanted ratings. But the fact that there are a number of people that are excited to see the return of Super Mario RPG, obviously a popular genre in Japan with RPGs, popular with the core fans, and it's Mario. I mean, RPGs always do well when it comes to Switch, but a Mario RPG coming back is really huge. And this type of RPG from Square Enix is something that the old school fans, and I think even new fans, really wanted to see. But especially if you're an old school fan, you grew up with the Super Nintendo, or you had a Wii and you played it on the Virtual Console, or you tried it on the Super Nintendo Classic, Super Mario RPG is a classic. It is a one-of-a-kind, one-of-a-style type of game, and the fact that that's coming back and people are excited for it definitely shows that that could be a big system seller as well, in addition to moving a lot of units this holiday. Now, the last game that I'm going to talk about here, which comes out after all of this, is Dragon Quest Monsters. It's Dragon Quest. The Monsters brand is huge. Heck, even Dragon Quest Treasures, which wasn't as regarded as the Monsters or normal Dragon Quest series, even that definitely helped out in its exclusivity in Japan, I think last year. So Dragon Quest Monsters is a bigger franchise in terms of the sub-franchise than what Treasures was or is. So Monsters coming with its own unique story, big Dragon Quest game, that is going to be a huge mover in December. So there are still 3 major games that could push units above anything what people thought the Switch could do at this point. And we can see even a wider gap when it comes to what the Nintendo Switch is selling this year in Japan compared to the other systems. Now, I think that it's fascinating because there was a lot of people that were saying that the Nintendo Switch was dead, that the Nintendo Switch was dying, and that it's not going to do well, and that it's pretty much done in Japan and in other places. And I can understand some of it. I mean, if you look at the sales numbers when it comes to worldwide, the Nintendo Switch has been decreasing and slowing down compared to its peak years of 2019, 2020, 2021-ish, but really 2019, 2020, those were huge years, and Nintendo's had really ups and downs, but for the most part, it's been incredibly steady. But what you're seeing here is that you're seeing something that Nintendo's never done before. I've stated this once, and I'll definitely state it again for the new people. Usually around this time, the Nintendo systems that come out are dead and buried. Like the Wii, despite how popular and crazy that system was, it was pretty much already on the way out and everything in its fourth, fifth year or so. Same thing goes for the GameCube, same thing goes for the N64, same thing goes for the Super Nintendo. A lot of these systems from Nintendo, they're pretty much already done when it comes down to it. With the Nintendo Switch, that is not the case. You still have major games coming out that should move a lot of hardware and software. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how all of it plays out this week, especially with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We'll get the Japanese sales numbers next week unless Nintendo actually says, hey, it sold this much in the weekend. I don't think they're going to with this type of game. 2D Mario games are more of a long burner. They still sell really well at the beginning, but they're more of a long burner. But this one could be a bit more front-loaded than previous 2D Mario games because it's a brand new style, brand new type, and it's not just the new series, which people just think with the new series, hey, I can pick that up at any time. I don't have to rush out to the store and buy it day one. We saw that with New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. That game did not jump out to any type of crazy sales in the US, Europe, or in Japan, but the game has sold over 18 million units plus. So it's been one of the best sellers when it comes to Nintendo Switch games, period. It's in the top 10 best-selling Nintendo Switch games at this point. And for most of the generation, it wasn't in that. So that is the long-term strength of 2D Mario. So I do think that Super Mario Bros. Wonder will be similar, but it's going to be a bit more front-loaded with the big sales since they are doing something completely different. You have the Mario movie with the boost and everything, so it makes sense there. I think the Mario movie is really going to help out Super Mario RPG as well. People looking for a different style of Mario game to play. There's going to be completely different fans that play Super Mario RPG compared to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Plus, there's going to be crossover as well between the two, like myself, which I want to play both of these type of games. And for me, I grew up with Super Mario RPG, so of course I want to play that. It's an incredible game. Dragon Quest Monsters I'm not as high on, but I'll definitely check it out just to see the style of game, to see if I like that type of game. I haven't played a ton of the Dragon Quest Monsters games, but this should be a massive holiday for the Nintendo Switch. And then after that, we'll see what Nintendo does when it comes to how they introduce the Nintendo Switch 2, what they do with the backwards compatibility, what they do with the systems or models. All of the rumors and all that will be put to rest, I think, soon, early in 2024. But we're going to have to wait and see on that one. But let's go ahead and move on to some more awesomeness happening this week, because we got Super Mario Bros. Wonder coming. But Marvel's Spider-Man 2, this game got its reviews, and it is absolutely killing it, above my predictions on the Spawncast, where I think I predicted an 88 or 89, but it actually has a 91 Metacritic must-play review score average, and this is based off of 121 reviews. So Sony definitely crossed their T's and dotted their I's when it comes to getting review copies out to all of the press, and probably even more not so major press, but just getting all those review copies out there because they knew they were going to have a certified hit on their hands. And this is one of those 90 plus rated games that's so hard to come by. We see a lot of great games this year, don't get me wrong. We've had Baldur's Gate, we've had The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, we've had Street Fighter 6, that's been incredible, we've had Resident Evil 4. There's been a lot of 90 plus rated games this year, but it's not like it's easy to get those. It's not that easy, and especially especially above a 90. So very good here. Now, we've seen some other cool stuff with this game based off the reviews. There's instantaneous loading anywhere on the map. You can just simply pull up the map, boom, go right there and have fun, or go wherever you need to go. The combat based off of the reviews is the best that it's ever felt. Some reviewers even stated this is the best that a superhero game has ever felt, taking the crown from a game like Batman Arkham City, for example. So this is awesome to see. I think this is exactly what I needed to see from this type of game to kind of get me back into Spider-Man, just because I had played so many single player driven Spider-Man games between all the ones on the GameCube and the PS2 and the PS3 and the Xbox 360 and stuff before the exclusivity deal, or somewhat movie exclusivity deal, or whatever Sony has with Spider-Man when it comes down to it. I was kind of burnt out a little bit because I had played so much from my childhood all the way to this point. And I mean, all of the Spider-Man games, all of the story-driven single-player Spider-Man games, I played them. So I was a little bit burnt out by the time that Spider-Man came to the PlayStation 4. But I think that this is finally going to maybe reinvigorate me to get back into it. You've got Miles Morales, you've got Peter Parker, you have the two different dynamics between them. You can switch on the fly. There's so much stuff that they've done with this game. They've increased the traffic density. They've made everything look better, run better. Everything is so much more polished and clean, and that's what you're getting with this experience. It looks like an incredibly polished game. There's not a lot of bugs or glitches, or really any at all, that I've seen from my review roundups. There's so many 9 out of 10, so many 10 out of 10 scores. So this is definitely a good thing. I'm seeing 10 out of 10s from big sites like VG247, Video Gamer as well. I'm seeing Gaming Nexus, Shack News, Gfinity, I mean Inverse, The Enemy. Like, there's so many websites. Games Radar Plus, not that I care about what they have to say most of the time, but still, you guys get it here. This is a really good game. It's getting 9s and 10s across the board, with the lowest score I think is not even less than 80. Yeah, the lowest score is an 8 out of 10, and that's it. Some are calling it a little bit by the book, but that's okay. It's a sequel to what they've done. That's what a sequel's supposed to do. They're supposed to take what they've done and make it way better in every single facet. So I have no problem with that at all. But what do you guys think about this when it comes to Marvel's Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac? They are carrying the PlayStation 5 when it comes to their games. 91 average. They've done it again. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But for this next topic, we're going to go over a very interesting game that I had no clue already came out on PC. I guess it was early access, but now it's coming to Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 on November 17th, and it's called Astral Ascent. So this is a side-scrolling roguelite platformer, which is leaving that early access. And when I watched the gameplay videos of it, it really reminded me of Dead Cells. The art style, what they were doing, it reminded me so much of Dead Cells. Super fast-paced action, rogue, extraordinaire type of game, which you guys know I have the most intense love-hate relationship with rogue games, because often rogue games have some of the best upgrading mechanics, controls, systems, but then you have to start all over every single time, and I freaking hate that. So side-scrolling roguelite platformer Astral Ascent will leave early access and launch on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam on November 14th. Publisher and developer Hibernin Workshop, and I probably said that wrong, and publisher Maple Whispering announced. Now, Astral Ascent first launched early access for PC via Steam back on April 12, 2022. The version 1.0 release will feature countless new additions, including the Master Final Boss Fight, 3 new Zodiacs, 17 unique endings, complete reworked tutorial, new introduction cinematics, mid-run saves at the start of each room. I like that. Player stats windows, traditional cinematics when launching the game, fully voiced dialogues, and more. So you can create your own playstyle. There's 12 almighty bosses to face, 4 playable characters, you have a nice story, you have local cooperative play, and a big vast world to explore, fight, and battle your way through. This is the type of game that I buy and then immediately regret buying it and then say, you know what, it wasn't too bad once I beat the game. Kind of like Hades. I was like, I hate this game. And then I'm like, I hate this game. And then I beat the game and I'm like, you know what, that wasn't so bad. So I think that this might be that type of game for me. Same goes for Dead Cells. But yeah, if you're into Dead Cells and you didn't know about this, this is coming to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation on November 14th and looks incredible based off of the footage that I've watched here. So what are your thoughts on everything that we talked about here, guys? Let me know in the comment section. Also, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out our other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more, like this one talking about the Sonic Superstars review scores, in addition to my top Nintendo Switch games of all time, my 2023 update. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.